What up? This is Robert Horry.
Horry, three-pointer. Buries it.
You might know me as Big Shot Bob.
To Horry for three. Oh, unbelievable. This guy is off the charts.
What's going on, Big Shot Bob?
Robert Horry from downtown.
All right. Let's call it episode 213 of the Big Shot Bob podcast. That is B-Dog Brandon Harper. I'm Rob Jenners. That is 7-time NBA champion, resident of the Money Pit, Robert Horry. No, he is. You got more stuff going on at your house, I swear. My son Austin's in the middle of a renovation, and he doesn't have as much shit going on as you do. And they're gutting his whole house, man.
There they go, man.
Dude.
You know, we had to gut one house, and then we got a new roof over here. You know, those storms we had when we had the fires and the 100-mile-per-hour winds. Let me get that out there.
There you go.
It just messed up a lot of stuff over here. So you had,
Ugh. So
it's like, oh my goodness. But hey, at least I'm thankful. You know, a lot of guys lost their whole house. I just lost the roof. Yeah.
What is the situation like out there? By the way, like, are things going back up? Are they fixing things, or is it still just kind of a little?
They're still testing the soil and stuff because a lot of the soil is contaminated. And I actually had to drive through that way the other day, and and it's weird because you can tell the lots that have been treated because they got a certain little barrier around them and they got the signage out front. But it's still about, I want to guesstimate, but it's a lot of homes. I should say, no homes, so a lot of plots that are still need to be, excavated and treated for contamination. So it's going to be a long process, man. Probably about a 5-year process.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's wild because what happens is it leaves the mainstream news.
Mm-hmm.
So you stop thinking about it. You're like, okay, well, that's a thing that happened, and you move on, and you realize, no, these people are still rebuilding their lives out there.
Yeah.
So
like when we go to the way we go to the gym is the way the dump trucks come. So we're at the light. About 20 dump trucks are past us filled with stuff. I don't know what's in their materials. Then they have to go somewhere and dump that and then come back and do it all over again. And it's just it's a process that you don't even think about. You say, okay, my house burned down, I can rebuild it because those homes were so old. They have metal, asbestos, all this stuff that has seeped into the soil. So they got to retreat that. It's a lot of stuff they got to do that people don't even think about. You think, oh, I burned my house down? Okay, just dig out.
Yeah, just rebuild.
Put a slab down and rebuild. No. It's a process.
Damn. Oh, think about all those people still going through it out there.
Yes, a lot of people.
It's a long road. And like you said, you're thankful because you still have the roof over your head, even though it's got a bunch of holes in it. You still got it. So
that
you
can be
fix
fixed
it from
easier.
Tell you what. All right, well, man, where do you want to start, dude? I'm going to give you some numbers on where we're at with the conference finals, and then we can either start in the East or the West, talk about whatever you guys want. I do want to do this, though. We will have a new NBA champion this year for the 7th time in 7 seasons. A new NBA champion, which I thought was cool. So in 2019, it was the Raptors. 2020, COVID-19 won. 21, the Bucks. 22, the Warriors. 23, the Nuggets. 24, the Celtics. And now 2025. For the bigger picture on parity in the NBA, there have been 78 NBA champions. 5 teams, the Celtics, Lakers, Warriors, Bulls, and Spurs, have combined for 67.9% of all those titles. So it's a small little window for everybody else that's left over. A couple more quick numbers, then we'll chat. Let's see. Oklahoma City Thunder haven't won a chip since 1979 when they were the Seattle Supersonics. Knicks haven't won one since 1973. Their last appearance were in the conference finals, and they lost to the Indiana Pacers in 99-2000. The last finals they made, 98-99, they lost to the Spurs in 6. And the last time they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick, was still on the team. So it's been a minute for the Knicks. Timberwolves and Pacers have never won an NBA title. This is the first Western Conference Finals played outside of the states of Texas or California since 1996. How about that?
That's
Texas
crazy.
and California have hosted every year since 96. Cheapest tickets in the door for Game 1 of the Conference Finals. Pacers versus the Knicks in the Garden, cheapest in the door, $671. That's probably to stand on the roof of Madison Square Garden. Timberwolves versus the Thunder, $170. $170 you're in the door.
Oh man.
A lot going on now with these conference finals. So it's cool. It's cool to see that we're going to have a seventh champion for the seventh time.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
You know, it's going to be really interesting because I sat here and after I watched that Thunder game in Denver, I'm like, who am I going to root for? I think I'm going to root for the Timberwolves.
Okay.
And the reason why, because I look at all the teams, I look at all the players, and the player I respect most resides on the Timberwolves, and that's Conley. So I said, okay, I'm going to root for Conley because this guy has been the prototypical NBA player, just go about, hard worker, does his job. You never hear anything about him. He does a lot of charity work. He doesn't want, the acknowledgments for it. He just does good things. So I'm rooting for him. And plus, he is the elder statesman that's left. So I'm going.
So you're rooting for the old man. Gotcha.
I'm rooting for the old man.
Yeah. Which is funny because last week you didn't want Minnesota anywhere near the NBA Finals. Last week you're like, Minnesota's not going to draw. I don't want them.
Hey, but sometimes you got to sit back and think about things. And you think about the teams and you went down like the Pacers, the Knicks. Nah, because think about when the Knicks win. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, we're gonna get, dude. We're gonna get to that. We are gonna get to that. We got so much Knicks fan stuff to get into. So.
And then if the Thunder win, it was like, oh shit, here they go, thinking they got a dynasty and they get rid of all it. But
I don't think the Thunder would go that way.
No, I'm just saying though, because they're so young. Think about the Thunder.
Oh, this is like the start of their.
Yeah. So they're gonna say, oh, we're the new Golden State Warriors, and we're starting a little dynasty because we got a lot of.
I don't get that vibe though from OKC. I don't. Hardly Carp does either. He's shaking his head no.
I don't get it, but I'm just saying, you know how people are in the media. They got to pick things out of the air to talk about. So.
Well, I mean, yeah. If you want to blame it on the media, no. First Take is going to make them a dynasty on the day after. Yeah, of course that's going to happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Harp, who you want? Who you want in the NBA Finals? Minnesota or OKC?
Why are you beating around the bush, man? Why are you doing that?
I think I'm gonna pull for Minnesota. And it's nothing against OKC. They're a great team, very young, a very deep team. But to see Minnesota even last year, be right there and on the cusp of it, and then not being able to get there, and then the fact that now they're back, I think it's just their time to be. It's time for them to take that next step. And you can say the same thing about OKC in a sense as well. So that's why this is going to be a really, really good series. Mm-hmm. But I really do think that it's really time for Ant-Man and Minnesota to be able to take that next step and represent the Western Conference in the finals. Plus, like we talked about this last week, I think a Wolves, and I'm assuming maybe the Knicks win this series. I know we'll get into that, but a Wolves and Knicks finals is better than what I think a lot of people would expect, because I think you got a lot of storylines there about an evenly kind of matched trade that we know that went down between the both of these teams. Mm-hmm. And that's gonna be so newsworthy throughout that finals that, it's like beating a dead horse. But in reality, you don't see a lot of evenly matched trades a lot in the NBA, let alone sports alone. So I think that's a pretty good storyline there. No disrespect to OKC and the Pacers, because both of them have worked hard to get where they are. But I think those are the two teams, even though I think Knicks fans are insufferable.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get to them. We got plenty to get to them. Well, listen, before we get too far off of the West here, Denver took them to 7. Couldn't get it done. I mean, they got cooked.
They gave up.
Cooked in Game 7. I did have a couple pieces of audio real quick from Denver I wanted to play before we got too far away from it. Joker, what's the offseason look like for you and for the Thunder?
We will see, But from now, like next couple of days, there's going to be a lot of beer probably.
I'm just going to go drink a lot of beer. Him and the Nuggets.
Hey, I know one guy who couldn't have said that shit. That's Luka.
No, they would have taken that beer out of his hand. They'd have been like, no, thank you. That goes over here. And then we had this from Aaron Gordon, I guess, had a hamstring strain, or a sprain, I should say, and I guess he was questionable all the way up to the start of Game 7. I think a lot of people were saying he wasn't going to play. Then he did get out there and he played, and he mustered 25 minutes. I think it was like 12 points or something, a handful of rebounds. Like he was out there. He got, what do you got? 25 minutes, 8 points, 11 boards. All right, on a sprained hamstring, that's not terrible. His argument here was we need more rest between the games.
Health is a lot, I would really, really appreciate it if there were a couple of days in between games in the playoffs instead of every other day, regardless if you go 7 games. And I understand if you do your work early and you get first seed, then you can have some time off. But I think the days in between games, not just off day and a travel day, but a travel day and a recovery day, just two days. I think the product of the game would be a lot better. I think there'd be just a better product on the floor, just to give all these professional athletes just one more day of rest, and you would see a higher level of basketball, probably less blowouts.
Rob,
nah. Nah, I guarantee you, if he doesn't have this injury he's not having this conversation.
Thought exactly the same thing you did.
So,
like, this is a conversation of a man who's injured.
Yeah, for me, I would agree with him in the sense of like, all right, we're in our city, we play, we have the day off, then we play, then we have a travel day, and then we have a day off, and then we play. Now, if you're going from city to city, I can expect that. The first, for the first 4 games, because you're in 2, then you go 2, then after that, that's the only rest day you're gonna get. Because now it's play off, play off, play off. You should get to a point where your body is used to it. If you didn't have all these days, I'm not talking to Aaron Gordon. I'm just saying, when you have all these days where we're gonna rest our players, we're gonna load management. The season prepares you for the playoffs. Because that's the reason you have back-to-back games. That's why you have 4 games in 5 nights or 3 games in 6 nights or whatever it may be. Now your body gets used to it. So it ain't had nothing to do with the blowouts. It had to ask your ass ain't got no defensive team. When you look at the teams that are being blown out, I'm like, look at that
plays
last
defense.
game.
We've had this conversation 100 times. Yeah,
look at the Knicks game 7. Look at the teams that didn't show up defensively or the teams that get blown out. That's not, it has nothing to do with the players. That had to do with the coaches and their defensive schemes. I guarantee you, I would love to see what coaches do on days off. Do they talk about the offense or do they talk about the defense? Which one do you spend more time talking about? And you think about all the great teams that win championships. They're top 5 defensive teams.
Yeah.
Is Denver a top 5 defensive team?
It used to be.
Yeah, it was at one point.
Yeah, when you had you had Brown and you had boy down in Orlando now, KCP. But no, you decided to get rid of those guys and have Braun, who you thought was going to be a defensive stopper, who can't stop me.
I think, I think I hear what he's saying, but like you said, these are the words that are coming from a hurt man. Mm-hmm. I think the words will fall less on deaf ears if he was saying this and healthy, or if this was just coming from another guy that, is healthy and was out there playing and actually just felt the effect of not having enough days. Yeah. But I think what adding that extra day does is you extend the playoffs. Like, you have all these games that need to be played, and you have so many days in between games. So instead of that one game, obviously not talking about the travel, but just having another 2 days in between, let's see, game 1 and game 2.
Oh, drag it out.
You're dragging these things out, and what you got to really be careful about, and I know the NBA won't admit this because they don't care about it and they shouldn't. When you start dragging things out like this into the summer, you're getting really close to everybody's mind really starting to focus on football, because more football news comes out, OTAs and training camp.
You're about to bleed over into OTAs. I mean, what are we doing?
No, you're about to bleed over into training camps, and now everybody's mind is starting to shift over into football, where you have this window if you're the NBA where it's kind of like I said, they won't admit this because they shouldn't. They're a $6 billion entity. So no entity that's worth that much is going to admit this. But the reality of it is you got to be careful about that because you don't want eyes being taken off the finals because you want to have more days and it bleeds over into July? August?
But I think the NBA would be upfront about that. I mean, that's pretty basic 101. I mean, you want the most eyes on your sport when you can get it. The fact that the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs run parallel to each other still kind of boggles my mind. Like, those 2 seasons are catered specifically to entirely different demographics. Like,
Absolutely.
there is so little crossover between the demographics of people that consume the NBA and the NHL. It is minuscule. Right. So they just line those 2 seasons up, and they go great because we have no football to compete with. Baseball is in the dog days of summer. Nothing counts really till August, September. We don't have a lot of OTAs yet. Training camps really don't start till July. So they're like, all right, well, we're going to make our postseason go May into June, and we're going to try and own as much of that window as we can. So I don't think that they would not talk about that. That's a smart move for them.
No, I think they talk. I mean, I think they talk about it amongst them, selves. But I think we all know, especially working in sports, like, we know. And so for fans who may not know or may not think about stuff like that, they may not hear that type of stuff or think that the NBA will put that type of stuff out. But we, like I said, we know that they know. And we're not even talking about the NFL. I'm talking about college football too. Because there are regions around this country, especially in the South and especially in, the Midwest area, football's king.
Oh, big time.
And so if you want to catch those people, hey, man, you can't have all these days in between and to be extending this stuff into July because even though it's still the summertime, people are now shifting their thought process over into football.
They are. Rob, what do you think Denver does this offseason? 'Cause I think Denver's got a lot to figure out this offseason. And look, I mean, they got cooked in Game 7, but they didn't get blown out of the series. They were in 2 fistfight series. And I mean, I think they just got a lot. I mean, between head coach and kind of the pieces that they want to figure out around Jokic and Murray and Gordon, and I mean, they got a lot of stuff up in the air. Westbrook, I mean,
you look at that roster. Their starting lineup is one of the best. Well, except for maybe one player, their starting lineup is one of the best in the league. Michael Porter Jr. has to get healthy.
There's a lot of buzz about him.
Yeah, his shoulder. People understand when you got a bad shoulder, you can't raise it to do like that. It's hard to play, but they gotta have to get a bench. They front office, let's start with the GM. They need a new GM. That GM got to understand that, it ain't about the starting 5. It's about those guys, those 3 major guys that come off that bench to contribute. Christian Braun needs to move back to the bench. You need to bring you in a nice 2 guard who can defend. You messed up when you let KCP go. And there's so many things about this team. You figure like, okay, Jokic can overcome our shortcomings because he's the fucking best player in basketball. And it doesn't work like that all the time because Jokic can't guard everybody. And they're going to have to figure out that bench. If you look at their bench, there's about 6 of those guys that won't be, maybe 7, won't be there next season because they got to overhaul it. And, the starting lineup, outside of Christian Braun is great. And I think if they keep this team intact, bring in a good coach, I know they got to sit down with Murray and Jokic and say, what coach do you want? Bring someone in. And I think they'll be fine. They'll be right back in the finals next year because when you got someone like Jokic, shit, it's hard to keep him out of the finals.
Yeah, he's the ultimate wild card, and he can swing a series. I want his big ass down on the block more, though. Again, I've said this 100 times. It sends just vomit up the back of my throat when I see a big man pull up for a 3. Get down in the paint. What are you doing?
Yeah.
All right.
Especially
Well,
when you're not shooting it well from 3 like he did this series. Punish him in the pro.
Yeah,
and then you got a little fucker like Caruso on you. Punish his ass.
Yes,
you playing
get him down and just beat him up, man.
Take him to your world. Don't play in his world.
No.
Right.
Nonsense. All right, well, we'll see how that one shakes out. So we're going to have OKC and Minnesota in the East. Let's get to or in the West, I should say. Let's get back to the East.
What's wrong?
Knicks fans. That's what's wrong. Knicks fans. Did they win the NBA championship? Because you'd think they did. The way they're going insane right now and just the celebration. Like, you're back in the Eastern Conference Finals. Look, congratulations. It's a good accomplishment. I guess if you're a Knicks fan, you're so just like every year your heart gets broken when you think you have a chance. So to get back to where you want to, almost to where you want to go. Because, look, Eastern Conference Finals is not the goal, right? It never is. It's a good place to be. But you got one more in front of you. And I'm sorry. You could say anything you want about the Indiana Pacers. I don't think the Pacers have taken anyone lightly in this postseason. I don't think the Indiana Pacers have been scared by anybody yet this postseason. They took apart the number 1 team in the East. I don't want to say with ease, but they did a hell of a good job taking apart Cleveland.
Took their heart.
I mean, look, Cleveland's a different type of team than New York. I get it. But if you're Knicks fans, why don't you just take a deep breath before you start climbing light posts and billboards in the middle of the city and throwing trash at Pacers fans and belittling the shit out of Brian Windhorst just because you saw him walking down the street. Look, I get it. The whole world picked against you.
So what you're saying is you want them to be civilized.
Well, don't right. Here's the thing though, because of the way the fans behave, it makes the Knicks so unrootable. Like I want nothing more, and I have no skin in this game. I care nothing about the Indiana Pacers. I want them to destroy the Knicks now. Just because of their fans, because of the way they paint the whole, this is all year, we're going all the way. Like, this is nonsense. We do this all the time. Like, behave. Like, have an ounce of class and respect, and look at the fact that you haven't been there in 25 years. And be like, man, if we get an opportunity to go back, then we can really go nuts. Like, be happy. Celebrate your team. Don't act like an asshole. And, I mean, I'm from the New Jersey, New York area, so I know all the Knicks fans. I grew up with all the Knicks fans. I love all the Knicks. They're assholes. All the kids I grew up with that are Knicks fans, I love them. They're assholes.
Yeah.
It infuriates me.
Yeah. Rob, I will say this. I think I agree with you. Trust me. And, being here in Atlanta, we've had our battles with the Knicks, and somehow, some way, Trae Young is still number one on the enemy list, or 1B, or whoever's on that list, he's somewhere at the top. And they still keep Trae Young's name in their mouth somehow, some way. But I do agree with you that I am rooting for the Pacers to win this series. But I guarantee you, in the interest of the NBA and viewership, they are hoping that the Knicks win this series. They are hoping and praying
New York.
to the good Lord.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because they're looking at it from the standpoint, okay, we don't have a big market in the West amongst these other two teams. LA or no team in Texas is in this thing. Like you said, for the first time since 96. So we don't have a big market here. Now we have Ant-Man, cool. But as far as the market itself, not in the West, we got one big market left, and that is New York. And I think the league is on hands and knees begging the good Lord above that they want it to be a good series, but they want the Knicks to come out on top here.
Of course they do. The Adam Silver doesn't want any part of Indiana, Minnesota being his finals match. There's no way he wants that.
Or OKC, Minnesota. I mean OKC, Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana. Because those are just, you're right. It's a media thing, but. Yeah. Like, shit, man, I can't with Knicks fans, man. I can't. Like you're not even close to your goal yet. You're in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's huge.
Yeah.
But you're not there yet.
It gets to a point where, Knicks fans follow what they see on TV. I don't think there's ever been an organization that has that many fucking ex-players at a game. I'm like, you got Sprewell, you got what's Stoudemire, you got what's the guy Starberry, you got Larry Johnson. I can go on and on. You get all these motherfuckers at a game ain't never won shit. Ain't none of the motherfuckers ever won a championship for them, but they on the sideline acting like asses, standing up, running on the court, giving players high five, and that carries over to the fans. And the fans take that. The shit they were doing to that fan, throwing the trash at him.
No, yeah.
That was just.
I think the guy,
just uncalled
if I'm
for.
not mistaken, too, and I read the story quickly and I didn't make a note on it, but I think he's a firefighter.
He is a New York firefighter.
I think he's a New York City firefighter, but he's a Pacers fan.
They had him on Pat McAfee.
Yeah, that's right. And so now Halliburton said he's going to fly him out to Indianapolis or something for one of the games to kind of because he was running. But that man is a New York City firefighter. And you're hitting him with trash and garbage and he's one of your own.
Yes.
He just roots for a different team. Who cares?
They do. And you know how out of bounds New Yorkers are. The fact that he had that Pacers jersey on walking down the street.
Didn't matter who he was, yeah.
It does not matter what you do, where you're from, what job or career that you have. He had on that Pacers jersey, and all they saw is like a bull seeing red. That's all I see. Well, I'm gonna knock you out this trash bag and maybe find out later everything that you do, and maybe you'll get an apology. But then they're gonna blame it on
apology.
right. But then they'll blame it on the fact, well, if you weren't wearing their Pacers jersey, you wouldn't have had those problems. So you know how New Yorkers do. That's just the way that it is. But you know what?
Dude, I get it, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, it just gets to a point where you're like, come on, man.
And that's my problem is if the Knicks are in the NBA Finals, I'm gonna have a hard time dealing with these people for another 2 weeks. I'm just gonna have a really hard time with it.
Part of me would like the Knicks in the NBA Finals, because I think losing in the NBA Finals and being that close would do so much more damage to them than losing in the Eastern Conference Finals, because they're right there. Do you know what that city would look like if they lose?
Oh.
Do you know what Stephen A. Smith and First Take and so many other people who are New York Knicks fans and are in the media, do you know what they would sound like?
Oh, they would be heartbroken. It would be glorious.
That's a beautiful thing, ain't it?
Yeah, it'd be glorious. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I like I said, I got nothing against the Knicks. In fact, Knicks is the guys that they roll out there. Those dudes play, man. They are ballers.
Yeah.
They are scrappy. They are having just a season
play 40
beyond
minutes
the season.
a game.
They bust their ass and they play hard. I don't know why Jaylen Brown decided to squeeze Josh Hart's junk in the middle of Game 5, but that's a thing that happened. So it's like,
I missed that.
oh yeah, no, there's
that too.
throw a little quick Google video on Jaylen Brown, Josh Hart. I don't know why. He was coming across and trying to like set a screen or something. I don't know, but Jaylen just reaches down and gets a handful and just goes and just gives him a squeeze.
Come on, dog.
Like, bro, what
It's
are you doing?
ridiculous.
What are you doing? So I guess part of the reason I brought that up was the celebration with Knicks fans. Was this because they beat the Celtics? Was this because it was Boston and New York? Was that why this was so over the top, or is this just generally over the top?
I think it was a lot to have to do with they beat the Celtics, and they were a higher ranked team, so it's because think about it. Everybody picked the Celtics. Who picked the Knicks? Nobody.
Oh, no,
right?
no. In ESPN's entire roster of NBA people picked the Celtics.
And think about it. They won 2 games before JT got hurt, so they were happy. And so I think they knew that was coming down the pipe anyway. Even JT would have been healthy, they'd probably won that series. But so I just think that just took them over the top. Like, you beat the big dog, you think it's your year. And so I think after beating the big dog, they think it's their year. No one ain't no stopping us now.
I don't know.
Ain't no stopping us now.
Unless it's the Pacers who knocked us out last year. And that's part of it, too. So not only is this a storied rivalry, they're fresh off Indiana coming into their building last year in Game 7 and just kicking them out the playoffs last year.
I guarantee. I'm just ready to see, who they're going to pick to do the games.
Oh, Reggie's on every game. They already said it. TNT, this is the last series that TNT will broadcast for the NBA, as their deal is now expired after the Eastern Conference Finals, and they stuck Reggie Miller's ass on the color down on the floor for every game, which is they should. Yeah. And so here's my only thing. I do love Reggie. I like Reggie a lot. I got no hate toward Reggie Miller. If I'm Reggie, though, don't make this about you. You know what I mean? Like, be there for it, enjoy it, but don't make this about, remember the time that I did this, remember the time that I broke their heart. They're going to show the 8 points in 9 seconds thing 1,000 times with Reggie on the call. They're going to be, and it's like, if I'm Reg, I try to take the high road here and just go, look, man, let's not make this about Reggie Miller. Let's make this about the teams, because the 2 teams that are on the floor had nothing to do with any of those teams back in those days, man. Those guys,
those guys are sitting on the sideline right now.
Yeah, they're right behind your ass. You know what I mean? Like it ain't had nothing to do with any of that. So, I don't know. We'll see what Reggie does with it. But I love a storied NBA rivalry coming back to life. So I do like the Pacers Knicks. I think it's going to be a slugfest of a series. I do. Do we give Indiana a shot in this one? Because I think Indiana has shut us down every time we've doubted them.
Absolutely.
Halliburton's playing really well. Siakam's playing well. Nembhard's he's turning into a problem for a lot of people. So I think Indiana is gonna come out and give it a little bit more than maybe Knicks.
And the one thing I like about Indiana, they got an asshole over there in Benedict.
Oh yeah.
When you have an asshole that can be one of those guys that just get someone off their off their game plan, you won the battle. And I think I know that was it. Is it Naismith? The other guy, Aaron Naismith.
Maybe.
I
Something
like
like
him.
that.
I like him a lot. He's a guy that can fill in whatever you need. What 2, 3, 4, 5, he can fill in. He's sort of he's their version of Josh Hart. So
Yeah, I don't know. I know very little about the Pacers depth, just because I have not paid a whole lot of attention to the Pacers.
They only go
conference finals.
They go 3 deep. They got Naismith, Toppin, and McConnell.
Toppin's
play a lot of minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, Toppin's been good for them.
One matchup that I'm really going to be looking at in this series, though, is Miles Turner and Cat. You talk about versatile big men who can shoot the ball, but can also post up. I think that's going to be a battle that is really, really going to be heavily watched to see how these two big men go up against one another. So I think what's going to determine this series is which one can control the paint. Because we know Cat likes to shoot the ball a lot. But if Cat can tap into who we've seen him to be this season for the most part and not just settle for jump shots, it could be a long series for the Pacers.
All right, you got to take one. Who you taking?
Between who? Those two?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a slight edge. To Cat. I think the way, and it's nothing against Miles Turner. I just think Cat has been playing very well. He's played very well most of this season. Like, you remember when we came into this season, we talked about when Tibbs and them traded for him, we knew that he was going to be their starting center or their big man. We said, well, hold on. This the same Cat that we know that ain't going to play no defense? Because Tibbs likes defense, and we ain't never known Cat for playing defense. So we laughed at that. But the way that he's played down low for them this season, not just offensively, but defensively, he really took his game to another level and proved pretty much me wrong, at least. So, and he's pretty much continued that for the entire season. I got to salute and give that to him. He's played very, very well.
Yeah, I'm taking Miles Turner. I just think Miles Turner plays harder, he plays smarter, and he's a better defensive player.
Yeah,
And
I'm not knocking you on that.
Yeah. It's gonna be, that's one of the matchups. Everything is always about matchup, and for me, Miles Turner in that matchup. But I'm also going to see the Pacers. What I like about the Pacers, they have 3 to 4 guys they can throw at Brunson. So that to me, because you got Nembhard, who's a big body, Naismith, that's a big body, and then you got even McConnell. He's considered a big body because he's like a little fire hydrant. You got those guys that can just try to wear Brunson down in the sense of like making him bring the ball up full course under some duress. So it's gonna be a good series. So people are sleeping on the Pacers. Pacers were one of the teams that had the best record after the All-Star game. They were playing really well, and it's not just one guy on their team playing well. You look at they got 6 guys that are playing really well. But the only thing I'm worried about is that long ass layout they've had to wait. So
they have.
Yeah.
And this.
So what kind of series is this?
I think it goes 7.
I think at least 6.
I think it goes 7. Yeah.
I don't see this being one team.
Unless someone gets hurt. If someone gets hurt, then it might not go 7.
I see it being a fist fight.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go at least 6.
I want people to understand this. You just can't look at the Pacers. Oh, it's the fucking Pacers. You're disappointed because it wasn't Cleveland. This is a good fucking team, man.
Yeah.
They play very well together. And when I say team, this is probably the one truly team that's left because everybody contributes. And it's not like, give it to SGA Galloway, give it to Ant-Man or Randall Galloway or give it to Bronson. No, these guys all go at you.
Yeah. For me, it's going to come down to New York's bench. Mm-hmm. Because how far can you push those starters? And we know Tibbs loves to push those guys. So how far into a game are you going to shove them before they start to get tired or worn out or frustrated or somebody's not getting a shot off or, you know what I mean? Like somebody's clamped down and can't find a rhythm. And what is New York going to throw at you off the bench that can match what Indiana's got? And thus far, they haven't had a lot of answers in that area. So
it's going to be up to Tibbs. Like you think about it, Cameron Payne played a couple of good games and he was like a forgotten thought.
Back to the bench. Yep.
I don't understand Tibbs. I know it's all about a rhythm in the field and you trust those 5 starters, but shit, You're gonna have to put Cameron Payne in the game. You're gonna have to pay some of these guys because you can't.
You're gonna have
like,
to you're gonna have to switch a little bit here, man. You're gonna have to.
Because Mitchell Robinson is pretty much gonna be, unless he's guarding.
Just don't send him to the free throw line, man. That's all I care about.
Exactly.
Just don't send that man to the free throw line. Those were arguably two of the worst free throws I've ever seen. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody airball 2 free throws as bad as those Robinson free throws, man. Holy God. That was dreadful.
Yeah, I think I might, and this is probably rare, but I think I'm more interested in the Eastern Conference Finals than I am the West. Not saying I'm not interested in the West.
Yeah, they're both going to be good series, though, I think.
I think that Eastern Conference Finals, just for the simple fact of seeing New York fans, to see the highs and lows they're going to go through in this series, is going to be absolutely hilarious. You know, I mean, it's going to be such a roller coaster for them at every turn. It's hard not to just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Every aspect and every emotion a New York goes through.
Okay. All right. Who do you have winning each individual conference? And then in turn, who do you have winning it all? Start with Robert Horry.
Minnesota, Indiana. Minnesota wins it all.
You have Indiana knocking off the Knicks. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Harper.
In the West, I'm taking Minnesota. In the East, I am going to I'll take the Knicks. And I have Minnesota winning it all.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
OKC and the Knicks. And the Knicks win it. I think we've shit on the Knicks so much in this show. And we have willed it to happen. No, I have shit. No. Hand it where it's due. You're right. I have shit on and you know what? No, correction. I have not shit on the Knicks. I've shit on the Knicks fans. Okay? I've shit on your fans. Your fans are assholes. The Knicks themselves, I just think they're gritty. I think they've hit a stride. I think they're tough. I think that they're going to give Indiana everything they can handle. I think they're going to win it in 6, and then I think it's going to be OKC's going to find a way to get it done against Minnesota, and then I think the Knicks are just going to be too much for OKC.
I just think Knicks going to wear down, man.
Dude, look, I'm not rooting for the Knicks, by the way. I think this is what's going to happen, and I'm trying to remove myself from the fact that I'm not a Knicks fan. I still think I'm picking the Knicks. I
just think the heartache of an NBA Finals loss is so much more.
Oh, it's more delicious. Oh, it's so much more delicious.
So much more delicious. Yeah.
But if you want the city of New York to burn to the ground, any either outcome, right? They win or they lose. I think the city's on fire either way.
But the one good thing about when you in the East, travel time is so much easier. You think about Minnesota, OKC, at least it's a shorter flight than Cali to Minnesota, whatever it may be. But
that's true.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that's going to help out the Knicks travel time.
Let's see how it goes. All right, well, we'll do a couple more quick stories. We'll do Big Shot of the Week, and then we'll get to our game this week, which is the Conference Finals high-low game, which should be fun. I'll give you guys some numbers from the Conference Finals. I've seen this a bunch this week, and it threw me. Kevin Durant to Philly. I was absolutely flummoxed by this. Word of the day, flummoxed. The Sixers are going to target Kevin Durant or Lauri Markkanen with a package that includes Paul George and the number 3 overall pick. According to Jeremy Wu, quote, some teams expect the Sixers to be active in trade conversations with names like Kevin Durant or Lauri Markkanen in Utah as potential targets and packages that would probably include Paul George and the number 3 overall pick. Kevin Durant in Philly. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't like it.
What is he going there for?
Right. But
I mean, going there for a cheesesteak run? What is he going there for?
I don't like it. You have nothing. I mean, what, Tyrese Maxey?
What did I say about Kevin Durant? What did I say about Kevin Durant last week? And I've said it quite a few times. He is the superstar that is, every time he moves, he is in a lose-lose situation. Because he is a guy who, as great as he is, does not really, I don't believe, wants the full-on responsibility of being the guy that gets the team over the hump. He wants to be the guy without actually having the responsibility. And if going to Philly would be the same thing.
It's a team in turmoil. They're in absolute shambles in Philadelphia right now.
Well, they're in shambles, but would you rather have KD or Paul George?
No, I understand that. That's not. Of course, you'd rather have KD. I don't think that's the point. What I'm saying is, he is a guy that is in a tough situation because of, I think, just who he is mentally to a degree. I don't care where he goes. He can go to the Rockets, but somehow, some way, if they don't win, the blame seems to evade him in a sense, or he doesn't want to accept the fullness of, hey, this is on me. I want the superstar treatment, but I don't want the superstar ridicule. And I don't care where he goes. They're going to deplete the team wherever he goes because he's going to require you giving up everything. So it's going to be him. It's going to be him like when Will Smith, that last episode when he's looking around the mansion and nobody's there. There's no furniture, no nothing. Yeah. That's exactly how he's going to be looking at that organization. Why? Because you didn't gutted everything to get him. So what's the point?
Well, I mean, you're going to move Paul George. You're going to move the number 3 pick. So you lose your pick, and you lose.
It's going to take more than that.
It may take more than that. On top of that, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. Part of me is surprised that Philadelphia would be willing to give up on the Paul George experiment that fast. And it has not been great so far. Don't get me wrong. I'm not defending it. But at some point, you know who he can be. It's the Embiid problem, too. It's like, you know who he can be.
But both of them have the same issue.
How long do you let it ride, though, before you go, okay, we got to try and give him a shot to be who we know he can be before we just jump ship on him? And I feel like if you wanted to do that to Joel Embiid, you probably have the right to do so. He's only played less than half of his games ever in his career. He played, 30-something games this season. If you wanted to do that to Paul George, for me, that feels a little premature. But I don't know.
I think they should I'm an advocate of them tearing the whole thing down.
Well, I think
because
they may end up having to do that no matter what.
Because you holding on to Joel Embiid for what? He's not on the floor.
All right, so let me ask you both the same question then. Where's the best place, if Kevin Durant is to go anywhere, where do you think the best place for him to be is?
Yeah.
I'd say, knowing that you're going to give up a lot anyway, you got to go to a team that I think has quite a bit to give up and can still be a formidable team. And I think that team, as young as they are, might be Houston. Okay. You would probably have to give up a package of Jalen Green, maybe Jabari Parker, a bevy of some of those draft picks. But I do still think they have enough talent there to where I think he can go in and it could still be a pretty good team. Now, you're going to sit there and say, well, does him coming to that organization stunt those young guys' growth? I don't know, but there aren't too many teams to me where, you can think about Dallas. Could Dallas give up the number 1 pick?
They could.
I don't think they will, but you talk about other places. I'm not saying they should, but you start talking about other places.
Nico had to get an identity change if he did that shit.
Well, he almost had to do it with Luka.
I was going to say.
He almost had to do it with Luka.
He already had to change his name and his home address, and yeah.
Right. So my thing is, Houston would probably, if you're going to move him, probably be the best bet.
You know, it's just so hard. When you look around the teams, you try, where would he fit in at? And KD can fit in pretty much anywhere he goes, but are we looking at a situation where he's going to help a team win championship, or are we looking at a situation where he's just going to be on a team, like he was in Phoenix? And for me, I look at who he could help. And like Orlando. I think Orlando is right. I don't know what Orlando have to give up to get him, because if you look at Orlando's team, they're missing a veteran presence. They're a young team. Mm-hmm. And then, think about if he goes down to the bottom to Miami, and he'll fit in right there good with Bam, because Miami's lost Jimmy Butler, and now his is the replacement that you can have that can carry you to the top. And even though they still won't win a championship there, if he's trying to win there's nowhere he can go that can afford him to win a championship. Like your point, B, he's just gonna be like floating in the wind right now until he end of his contract and he decides, I'm gonna take less money to go somewhere else and win. So
yeah, and that's what it's gonna take, because if you're talking about his greatness, we can't, there's no need to discuss his greatness. We understand who Kevin Durant is, and we understand who he still is even at his age, because he can still play at a high level. It's just you're still talking about the level of compensation that you're having to give up for a guy of his caliber. Is it worth it for another organization to say, I'm going to literally have to somewhat gut my team and gut the progress that I've made in order to bring him in just to have the same result that he had where he's coming from?
Here's a question. If OKC doesn't win it this year, do you take some of those picks that they have? They had a bunch of picks.
They do.
And put some type of package, and let's say you give away one of the Williams, one of the Jalen's, and bring him in.
Bring him home?
Would you do that?
Possibly, because I don't have to. The less likely I have to gut my team, the better. And I didn't think about OKC. Possibly they may take a swing at that if they don't win the finals, or at least get to the finals.
OKC. While I like the idea in theory, for me, it's tough because you're there. You know what I mean? Like, you're knocking on the door now, and even if you don't get there, you've been arguably one of, if not the best team in the West the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
that
doesn't scream we need to add Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? And move a bunch of pieces to do it.
It was a really good team that had that same philosophy and never wanted. They called a Utah Jazz.
Oh,
they
my
had
God.
always right there at the cusp.
Knocked
but
on
they
the
never
door
wanted to add anything to
every
it.
season.
So sometimes you can have enough to get there, but you ain't got enough to get over the mountaintop.
Well, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
I just
I
think
don't know.
you can't. You have to find a team has to find the least possible way to have to gut their team and what they have in order to get him, because you actually have to pair him with the people that he needs to play with and talent in order to be able to be successful. Not, hey, we'll give up all of this to get him. Okay, now you're back in the worst situation. Now you just have Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And he gonna want to leave in another season or two because we're not winning.
We're not winning. Yeah. I'm starting to lean in the direction of Houston, though. I like that as a possible spot for him. Sorry, Rob, what's up?
No, I say that.
Oh, okay. Thought you were trying to jump in with a point. I cut you off.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if we're already looking at him like this, but somebody like him that's moving around so often, and like I said, I go back to it, him not wanting to be seen as one of the issues, but it's supposed to be one of the guys, if not the guy, to get teams over the hump. Bro, you ain't got many places to go anymore.
Yeah.
Especially now at your age.
Well, at some point, teams are going to stop spending for him. They're just going to stop. You know what I mean? Your legacy gets you so far. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he moves at all. Who knows? He may stay.
You better take your bet. I mean, you better.
So you think, I was looking at the Rockets roster. Let's say, okay, Van Vliet, we're going to bring in your contract. We're going to ship you,
Bye.
Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore off, or Cam Whitmore, because they can't get rid of Jalen Green.
No, Green's been there.
I think
star.
I know that's the only valuable piece that they have, but you got to get rid of Van Vliet in that contract. That way you can, hey, I know we always talk about what the Rockets can, but it's all about what Phoenix will accept. You know what I mean? So
True.
I think they accept Jalen Green.
Yeah, Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, and Van Vliet, because they always talk about need a point guard.
Oh.
So Phoenix always somebody need a point guard. Now you get a point guard in Van Vliet. You got an exceptional player in Jalen Green. If you get Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith, one of those guys.
Yeah. Now though, the more you stack this, the more I'm not starting to like it.
But still though, if you look at now, you still got Dylan Brooks. You still got Amin Thompson. You still got Tari Eason.
Dylan Brooks. Did you just throw Dylan Brooks down as a? Well, at least you still got Dylan. Gives a shit about Dylan.
I'm just saying, you got the starters, man. You still got the starters.
Yeah, I got you, but
because when you get rid of coming like KD, you're gonna lose 2 or 3 starters. At least this way you
are. But then see, that's what sucks, and this is where I think Harp's got a point. If you're Houston and you move those pieces to get Kevin Durant in there, and now all of a sudden you're not winning, oh my God, Houston's gonna turn on you hard, and he's gonna be the first guy to put his hands up and go, "I didn't move all those pieces. I just thought it would be good to come here."
But if you think about those pieces that they moved, those are pieces that don't play a lot of minutes anyway. Cam Whitmore doesn't really play for them.
Not really.
Jabari Smith fell out of the starting lineup. Yeah. Only one that, as long as you don't get rid of Tari Eason and Amin Thompson, you're fine. Because those 2 dudes right there are your future.
I really want Green there too, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's,
You're not going to be able to keep
right,
Green.
but that's the problem. Is I don't think you have to put him in probably to get any kind of acceptance out of the deal. But man, all right. Well, let's do Big Shot of the Week, and then we're going to play our conference finals high-low game. Big Shot of the Week is going to go to a woman named Amanda Juin. Here's why. She's a 47-year-old Tennessee mother of 5. On May 9th, she got her college degree after raising 5 children. The reason she's getting Big Shot of the Week, she's completely blind.
Ooh.
She gave up her college dream to raise her kids, and then when she started getting back to a point where she wanted to go back to college and get her degree, she was starting to lose her eyesight. So she was basically just kind of gave up on it at that point. But then she went to an 8-month program at the Colorado Center for the Blind, learned how she could basically adapt to being a blind student, went to Tennessee Tech in the fall of 2022, and on May 9th, walked the stage with her guide dog at 47 years old to get her college degree. Big Shot of the Week.
Yes.
Very nicely done.
Absolutely.
Don't let something like that hold you back. She found a way to make it happen for her, and still managed to raise a family and the whole 9. So, God bless that woman. She did something cool.
Great heart, obstacles made to be overcome.
That's absolutely right. All right, let's goof around a little bit and have some fun. All right, this is the conference finals high-low game. I'm just going to ask you a question. You have to guess a number, and then your opposition here will guess if the actual number is higher or lower. All right, so we'll start with Rob. It's no surprise when you look around the record books for the conference finals that you see Michael Jordan's name pop up. He holds the record for the most points scored in a conference finals game. He did it against the Knicks. Of course he did. May of 1993. Rob, what is Michael Jordan's record for the most points scored in a conference finals game?
I want to say 54.
All right. Brandon Harper, higher or lower?
I think it was higher.
No, it wasn't B. I just saw this on ESPN yesterday.
Oh, damn. Well,
Nailed it on the nose, 54. You prick.
I missed that. Usually that's one of the
Damn
ones
you.
I get. I missed that
ESPN screws me again. Every time, man. Every time. All right, Harper.
So do I get points for that?
You
'Cause
get
I
a
got
point
it
for
there?
that. You got it right on the nose, you freaking cheating-ass cheater. All right, here we go.
Cheat, man. I just saw it on TV. You don't get mad at me.
Man does his research for the first time in a year. No, I'm kidding. All right, Harper, speaking of easy guesses, it's pretty obvious that most conference finals appearances belong to the Lakers. They have 24, and the Celtics have 23 in their respective divisions. The next team on the list, though, is the San Antonio Spurs. With how many conference finals appearances? How many times have the Spurs made the conference finals?
Be quiet, Rob.
Eh. Your coughing is distracting my thought process. The Spurs were the third team on the list, by the way. Lakers had 24. Celtics had 23.
Is it 10?
It is not 10. Rob, is the actual number higher or lower
You wouldn't know
than
this.
10?
Lower.
The point goes to Brandon Harper. 14 times. 14
many times?
14 that the Spurs have made the conference finals.
I was trying to think about 5 championships, and then we beat them in the finals one time, so I was saying 6.
Yeah,
So
no,
I just
they've
went
been
with
there
6.
14 times. All right, Robert Horry. Since the turn of the century, being the year 2000, every team in the NBA, with the exception of 3, has made the conference finals. The 3 teams that have not, the New Orleans Pelicans and the Charlotte Hornets, have never made it. Actually, they're the only 2. There is a 3rd team that hasn't made it, though, since the turn of the century. That would be the Washington Wizards. Way back when they were the Washington Bullets. What year did the Washington Bullets make the conference finals?
1963.
1963 is not correct. Harper, is the real number higher, meaning closer to now, or lower, meaning further in the past?
Closer to now.
All right, so you're going to say higher.
Yeah.
And you, my friend, are going to get a point. Yeah, 1979 The Washington Bullets made the conference finals. For what it's worth, this is a number that made me kind of sick to my stomach. That's also the last time any Washington team in basketball has had a 50-win season. They haven't won 50 games since 1979. God bless them. All right, Harper.
Rashid and Chris. And...
Nope, never had a 50-win season. All right, Harper. When you look at the all-time leaders in points per game in the conference finals, Michael Jordan's actually number 2 on this list, behind Luka Doncic, who holds the record by averaging how many points per game in the conference finals? His points
in the conference finals.
In the conference finals. Points per game average in the conference finals.
Is it 28?
It is not 28. Rob, are you going to go higher? Rob's going higher. He's 32.2. 32.2.
Okay.
And he's done it in 10 conference games. For what it's worth,
I shortchanged him a little bit.
Jordan has 31 and did it in 45 conference games. So he's got a little bit of a broader spectrum of stats there. All right, Rob, 2 to go. Here we go. Of course, Steph Curry has the record for the most three-pointers made in conference finals history. How many conference finals threes has Steph Curry dropped? He's been quite a few conference finals.
73.
I say 73, which is not correct. Harper, is the real number higher or lower than 73 three-pointers drained by Steph in the conference finals?
I think it's higher.
He's going to go higher. 151.
Yeah.
Yeah, 151. Yeah. For what it's worth, LeBron is second on the list with 106. And then Clay is right behind him with 104. So he's 53s ahead of everybody.
And I'm a 4th on that list.
I don't know if you.
I'm kidding. I'm just saying.
I didn't see your name on any of these lists, but it's not to say that you haven't been to a few conference finals. All right, last one. Harper. The most rebounds in the history of the conference finals is a crowded field. Until you get to the top of the list. Rodman is 6th with 511. Bird is 5th with 532.
Damn. Bird got that many?
Yeah. Duncan is 4th with 549. LeBron is 3rd. He's got 590. Shaq is 2nd with 591. So he's leading LeBron by 1 rebound. And then you get to the top of the list. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. How many rebounds has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar pulled down in the conference finals?
750.
I was going to say 750, which is not correct. Rob's going higher. And the point, and I think the win, is going to go to Brandon Harper here. No, he didn't quite do 750. 675. 675. All-time rebounds in the conference finals for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
23 years, I figure you have way more than that.
He's been to how many years did Kareem go to the conference finals, too? My God. I mean, the Lakers overall have 23 total appearances. Now, he wasn't part of all those teams. But
well, you think that the 80s, it wasn't nothing but the Lakers and the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, he's had to be there. God, probably 12, 13 times, if not more.
Yeah.
Appearances in the conference finals. Rob, how many conference finals did you play in? I'm trying to think. Did you? Oh, so here's the better question. Did you ever lose a conference finals?
Mm-hmm.
You have.
We lost to this. Did I ever lose a conference final? I never lost a conference final, I don't think.
So every time you've been to the conference finals, you've advanced to the NBA finals.
Yeah, I used to lose in the second round. Yeah.
Okay. Just I didn't know that offhand. I didn't know if you knew.
Because my first year we lost to Seattle, second round.
Yeah. And then win-win.
Win-win, yeah.
And then, was it Phoenix?
Lakers, we got... No, I ain't make it. No.
Some uncomfortableness there?
No.
Okay, just curious.
No, I had to think about it. I had to get back with you on that one.
Okay. Well, we'll probably do some Google homework on that. I mean, to catch you off guard on your own career, but, you know.